G'day, hi, and welcome. Yeah. All right. This week in World Crazy. Why? Because the world's gone all cuckoo dog on us again. Oh yeah. All right. So anyway, I got down here a little bit late getting down here. Had a little bit of a job to do. Uh, got really mild, and I was worried about getting stuck back in way back in the bush there with where my client is. But it wasn't too bad. It snowed like crazy last night, and then today it's like slight. There's a slight drizzle every now and then. So when that freezes, that'd be good and icy. Oh yeah, yeah. So I got a bunch of stuff to cover. It's mostly going to be economic stuff. And guys, we're at like $90 silver. $90 an ounce of silver. So I think I forget what my predictions for silver were by year's end. Could be like $600-700. Could be like $2,600, $1,500 to $2,600. It really depends on this next phase, which whether you're for Trump or against Trump, it doesn't matter at this point. It really does not matter. I was listening to Survival Boy Scout. I catch his videos every now and then. He seems like a really nice dude. Whatever. This guy's ex-military, whatever. And he would be what you would call like that libertarian, Christian conservative libertarian type. You know, and again, these people are not bad people. It's just I find they're very misguided in how the world works. Libertarianism is a really bad idea. You want as much libertarianism and freedom in your society as possible. Yes, I agree with that. But to the point where people are so whacked out on drugs, or again, everybody assumes libertarians are going to be like just church going people, right? Libertarians are mostly marijuana smoking, drug addicts. Like the libertarians typically want to do degeneracy. Like 90% of libertarians are all about, let me do my degenerate thing. It seems the way it is. Again, although everybody assumes it's a right wing movement, it usually, when you really look at it, no, it's liberalism uh, with the guardrails off. That's what it really is, right? Or libertine, if you want to say it's more libertine. Uh, but he was like talking about what's coming up, and he made a good point that no, the system. He goes like a lot of people think the system is broken. He says no, the system's working in exactly the way it's supposed to. And I tend to agree with him on this thing. There are elements of the system that is completely broken. Yes, this is true. But you have to understand most of it's done on purpose. I've explained it like this myself. Just, you know, you're looking at a bowling lane, right? There's a whole bunch of pins down at the end of the bowling lane. Now, if you just grab the ball or the bowling ball and roll it down the lane and knock down the pins, everybody's going to know it's you that did it. But if you were to put a whole bunch of priceless china all over that bowling lane, then throw it down the bowling ball and just disastrously wrecks everything, just crushes and breaks everything, then hits the pins at the end, knocks them down. Everybody's going to be so obsessed and distracted by all this broken china all over the bowling lane that they're not even going to notice the pins getting knocked down, which is the actual end goal. Messianic order out of chaos, right? Create the chaos to get the order, And what is the order? It's always authoritarianism. It's always robbing people of their wealth. And I'm going to give you the perfect example of what's about to happen. It doesn't matter which way it goes; it's bad either way. There is a third option, but Trump he's too retarded to do it. So Trump could just end a lot of madness. The damage that's done to the United States is going to take on for the next 30 to 50 years. Trade deals. I mean, the trade deals right now, people are just running from the United States. Like the 90 deals in 90 days. Anybody that's still believing in shit like that, like I mean, Trump is not for the American people. He's Israel's guy, not your guy. He doesn't hate the American people. I still stand by that, but he doesn't care what happens to you. You know what I mean? He doesn't care. I don't think there's any politician in the world that cares about their people. There might be some exceptions, but like the guy in El Salvador, maybe, but he's still probably connected to the cartels somehow. It's just okay. Yeah, well, these cartels, you'll get the run of the show, but I want order in the society. You know what I mean? Javier Milei, maybe he did the right thing, maybe not. I don't know. Could be wishful thinking, or did he just sell out to the Rothschild banking system? I don't know. Maduro, was he in on it? I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. No matter how you look at it, there was some sort of a coup took place, whether it's a betrayal of the citizenry of Venezuela, again, or just outright, backstabbing each other. It's a dirty game, right? Mob bosses fighting. But anyway, the first thing is, okay, so we got Kuzma, parts of Kuzma coming up, and that is due for renegotiation. But I'm going to go back to the 1980s first. And there's a channel I watch. The guy's more on the left than on the right, but he will give praise to the right when he sees good things. But this guy. What I like about this guy is he festers around in the data, not the hyperbole and the hyperbolic cheerleaders. My guy's perfect, can do no wrong, and your guy can do no right. And I understand most people are stuck there. And with this channel, what I try to do a little bit is, and again, I got to watch because, like mass censorship is coming to everything, no matter what. This channel got a strike against it from my old channel that they took out. You know what I mean? Like, the algorithms are there, they're there. So it's just, when do they hit the kill switch button, right? Remember Obama's kill switch, internet kill switch? Well, the Iranians are using it. They're using it, complete blackout, internet blackout as we speak. So that tells you something about the capabilities of Iran, that they can, they're a lot more advanced than what people give them credit for. I don't think they're at the level of the Russians and the Chinese, but in some areas they might have surpassed, and most areas probably not close. But on that level, I'm sure they're probably close to, like, say, North Korea in technology. And North Korea is kind of fucking hitting leaps and bounds too. Mind you, it's mostly reverse engineered Chinese technology or Russian technology, but I digress. So anyway, parts of Kuzma are coming up, right? And the main thing of Kuzma is going to be negotiated next year. Now, here's the thing. We need to go back to 1990, late 80s, during the Brian Mulroney years. So NAFTA came out under Brian Mulroney in 1991, right? Now, was Brian Mulroney thinking this far down the line? Maybe yes, maybe no. But when you listen to the debate between him and John Turner, the opposition leader at the time for the Liberals, John Turner was saying, don't put us all predominantly on a single market, meaning Canada hooked to the U.S. market. It's a no-brainer to do that if everything's going well, but if you do, the consequences could be unforeseen, and in the future, we might lose sovereignty over it. We'll have, if something happens to the U.S. economy, our economy gets dragged down with it. All the things that we're worried about right now at this very moment with the Canadian economy, that, the United States can basically flip a switch and destroy our economy, right? The good news is they can't do it without destroying their own. And I know a lot of Americans, like, they're hooked on that 2%. It's what's in that 2%. Like, once you start fucking with energy, you fuck with everything. And again, if that's not clear to people by now, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to go up a couple of IQ points and keep up, because if you don't understand that you don't have the higher ground when you're just standing on the other side of a sinking ship. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a matter of how it's going to affect you, it's when is it going to affect you, not if. You know what I mean? So you shoot holes in the other side of the boat to sink the other guy, you're going to sink yourself. And this is exactly the best way to describe the self-inflicted trade dispute, economic harm that the United States, it's self-inflicted. So yes, it's done on purpose. But Brian Mulroney, I do believe, was arguing in good faith that he believed The free trade agreement was the way to go. We would get cheaper stuff, which he was correct. We wouldn't have to do all this investment in our own manufacturing and everything like that. We'd have some manufacturing, it would create some jobs at home, but it would keep it, like we wouldn't have to do the research and development. We just have to buy the product and maybe supply the resources for that product to be built. Okay, so we'll become a resource-based economy and a service sector economy, right? And this is what I joined the workforce in the 90s as a young man. This is what I, during the recession of the 90s, this is what I entered into. Like for example, I went to get an apprenticeship when I was living in Ontario, getting an apprenticeship as a motorcycle mechanic, right, at the time. And I was on my route to doing it. I was starting to build my hours. I was in the program. Then, we need more people in tech. JDS, Nortel, Corel. Yeah, remember those guys that are no longer around? Yeah. Yeah, they all went under, right? Why? Because they got bought out by like Microsoft and stuff like that. And because that was the wave of the future. Tech was the wave of the future, not hands-on mechanics and welders and plumbers and engineers and stuff like that. So all these programs that were in the high schools, they removed them, which harmed boys particularly, like all the shop classes, right? So they didn't learn the carpentry and stuff like that. Although you could still take those courses, it's just when I was going to high school, okay, you took technical drawing, or drafting. You learned how to design buildings, basically. As a teenager, most teenagers probably in 1990 could probably design a building better and safer than most people now, because you had to think your way of where to put the 2x4s, where the load structure was. Like, it was very mechanical. It was a big green board like this, and had a big slide ruler on it. The thing was on a gimbal, and it was quite the incredible machine to you could design a house, you could stuff like that. You had to learn. There was so much you had to learn, like how a wall takes like load bearing walls and stuff like that. What angle you could put on let's say you have a building that has the arch, the entrance out like this. Well, how do you keep the building from falling over? Like, you can see buildings that are like this, but what people don't realize is the structure inside is built like this. They think everything's built like this. It's not. It's built like this. It's just, you're looking at the facade on the outside, which makes it an engineering marvel. But it's when you understand how it's built, it's like, oh, okay, well, it's, you can build these extravagant things if you understand what you're doing, right? So you did stuff like that. You did welding. I did some welding. I did electricity. I had fun in the electricity class. I had other people's expenses, of course, but I had fun in electricity class. We learned how to solder. We learned all this is high school. This is high school. We learned plumbing, brazing, torches, sheet metal bending, tin banging, working on a lathe. Yeah, these are the things. Like, they would never let kids near that stuff. Now it's like, okay, here's a lathe. I remember Mr. Mazzaros, my metals teacher. He was probably one of my favorite teachers when he's the one that left the most impressions on me, for sure. Anyway, don't be sorry, just shut up. That's nice. Oh, who's speaking to me? Well, you're not looking me in the eye when you're speaking to. I can hear you, but I can't. That's nice. Don't be sorry, just shut up. You shut up now. Hungarian guy. He was great, though. He was great, but he'd be okay, Araji, okay, here's the tungsten. Okay, you're going to make a plumb bob out of tungsten. This is carbide. You got a carbide steel, and you're gonna put the carbide steel blade on there, and you're gonna make a tungsten plumb bob. I said, okay. Do not put the lathe above 15,000 RPM. Okay. You sitting there with the dial, like taking the lathe, right? And he leaves the class. Stop everything. 48,000. That got hot. Like I had the oil, adding the oil pretty quickly. Oh yeah, it was messy. I come back. Oh, my buddy's like, he's come back. Back to 15,000. I'm almost finished it. Wow, that's the fastest. Reggie, that's the fastest I've ever seen a 15,000 RPM plumb bob. Yeah, usually that takes like 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's just working really good. Yeah, it is. He goes, yeah, he comes back with some tape, puts an X above the 48 to the 25. He knew. But like we razzed him, but he razzed us. Like he was a good teacher. But we learned, right? We learned how to use grinders. We learned how to use bending presses, millwrights, yoders. Yeah, yeah. Like it was all the stuff, and then the woodworking classes, all that stuff we had in the 90s. Okay, 80s, 90s. That's what kids were learning. But then, no. Everybody's going to have an office job or work in retail, and they took all that away. Then, when the shipbuilding procurement comes up in the 90s, late 90s with Stephen Harper, or in the early 2000s, like, we're going to build this, where's all our fucking welders? And like, we don't have any tradesmen left. They're all gone, right? But anyway, getting back to Brian Mulroney, because this is important to what we're dealing with now. So John Turner telling them all these things, opposing NAFTA and the free trade deal, it was going to ruin our country long term. Might have some short-term benefits, but then we would lose the autonomy, sovereignty, and we'd be at the whim of somebody else's economic whims, basically, right? Was he ever fucking right? It was like, oh, but he was a liberal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the liberals in the 90s would be like hardcore far-right conservative Nazis now. You know what I mean? And the proof of this is basically Carney, because Carney is a 90s liberal. That's what he is. He's not a conservative, he's a 90s liberal. And the people that voted for him are like, oh my God, he's far right. It's like, I fucking wish so much he was. But no. Probably Carney would probably be very similar in his attitude, maybe not as, and again, these both Brian Mulroney and John Turner, you listen to those two men debating, it's so professional. Like, it's like you watch like American politics, it's just fucking like hee-haw, you know what I mean? You watch this and it's like, no, this is how you debate. And both men were debating in good faith. Now, I truly believe Brian Mulroney, his claim to fame is NAFTA, right? The free trade agreement, which was supposed to only really be a benefit to Canada, United States, and Mexico. Somehow, China gets all the manufacturing. Everything gets fucking offshore to China, right? Now, the banksters probably knew this was going to work out that way. Why? Because they're evil, right? So anyway, even like the ultimate globalist would be like Stephen Harper for business, right? Even he said, well, in hindsight, globalism had a lot of problems we didn't see coming. Now I don't believe that they didn't see it coming. I think they saw it, they anticipated it, but they thought they could get away with it. That's probably more of the thing. So that debate, you can go like John Turner versus Brian Mulroney, free trade. You'll probably find it somewhere. Just go listen. Even if you're an American, go listen to it. Just watch the demeanor of the men. Yes, it's a proper like the monk style debates. It's proper. Like you don't just go there and like one thing that we used to be allowed to do in Canada was to do slander, where your political parties couldn't just slander the other guy. That's what Americans do. Like that's an American. That is uniquely American thing. Now it's done around the world where all the political parties just slander the other guy. It's like, we're going to just fear you from voting for the other guy rather than tell you what we're going to do for you. This is how Jean Chrétien won, was he just played the nice guy. Oh, I'm going to give you this free stuff. I'm going to give you that free stuff. Rather than say, well, that guy's just going to do this to you. And that, never mind telling us what you oppose. How about you tell us what you stand for? You know what I mean? But anyway, I digress. So, NAFTA got replaced by the USMCA under Donald Trump 1, right? Everybody knows this. Now USMCA, and remember, it was the best deal ever, the greatest deal ever, whatever. And again, it wasn't, because Trump is no good at making trade deals. He's no good at it. He really isn't. I'm not saying that as a jab. I'm just saying his track records are not. The man doesn't understand business. He's great at real estate. Everybody agrees there. I agree there. Everybody agrees. But he does not know how to make a trade deal because he thinks of trade deals like real estate deals, where I win, you lose, that's a good deal. No, trade has to be mutually beneficial or we all lose. There's no winning if I fuck you over because you just fuck yourself over. It's the boomerang effect, right? That's why the tariff thing isn't working. Now, I'm for tariffs if they're used, because I'm a nationalist, I'm for tariffs if they're used, strategically, with actual thought put behind them, and carefully planned out. But what Trump's doing is not, he's just destroying his own economy there, trying to take down everybody else with him. That's all he's doing. So Kuzma is one of Canada's wild cards because all Carney has to do is just keep, the law. Like, it works to Carney's benefit when Trump comes out and says, that's it, trade talks are off. Carney's going, oh, fuck, thank God. Like, he's going, play right into my hand, I'll pretend I'm upset about it. But you watch Carney, and when people ask him about it, he kind of chuckles because he knows that it's like, does that moron not even realize that works to my advantage? Because the longer they put it off, the better it is. But eventually, that day is going to come, and we're going to have to negotiate this thing. Now, my prediction is Trump is just going to pull the plug. Why? Because he's a bull in a china shop. He can't think past Wednesday. He's not capable of long-term thought. And he's good on the fly. Everybody agrees on that too. Donald Trump has typically good instincts on the fly. But he's in the Herculean kind of way, right? Where Hercules was good on his feet, Trump's good on his feet, right? He's got street smarts. He's got that. He's good with dealing with people. Where he falls short is he's good in the very moment, in the now, but doesn't think of the consequences of in the moment, in the now, what it's going to be later, right? Carney's thinking 5-10 years down the road. This is and again, it's not raining endorsement for Carney. It's just that's the type of politician Carney is. He's across the T's and dot the I type of politician. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? No, he's not for Canadians. No, he doesn't give a shit about Canada. He doesn't give a shit about Canada any more than Trump gives a shit about the United States. Oh, but he loves us. No, he doesn't. He loves Israel. Carney, he doesn't give a shit about Israel. Doesn't give a shit about Canada. He cares about money. Cares about banksters. Cares about that stuff. Power, possibly. Even at that, Carney doesn't seem to be as power hungry as, say, Trudeau was. He seems to be a lot closer to Stephen Harper. Yes, Stephen Harper fired him, whatever. So again, the closer Carney can be to Stephen Harper, the better it is for Canada. If we can at least get back to Stephen Harper level of quality of life and business, we're doing better than just about any other country. Okay, yes, China always has outrageous GDP numbers. Yes, but they don't pay their people fuck all. You know what I mean? GDP numbers are not the number one indicator of wealth, and I wish people could understand that. You could have extremely low GDP numbers and do much, much better. Because you could have more social programs, you can have more stuff like that. That taps into the GDP. So the balance is to keep your society happy, keep them wealthy, so that you can keep the velocity of money in your society going. When people have excess money, they spend. When they don't, there's an everything apocalypse going on, retail apocalypse. Even the fast food chains are starting to suffer. Meanwhile, they're bringing in all these foreign workers. But that's probably Tim Hortons. People a lot of people are really saying fuck Tim Hortons. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're gonna fire all the white people just so you can get the third world labor. Then go fuck yourself. Go out of business. You know what I mean? And it will. It takes a few years for that to switch, but that's what happens. Right? You can't betray the people and betray the people and betray the people without a reaction somewhere down the line. So, Donald Trump is in a weird position where it's kind of like the cards he holds work in our favor up here in Canada. And it's been going like this for at least a year. Carney's outplayed Trump 10-1. Easy. And again, not a rating endorsement. I'm just telling you where the bars are set. And I know people get mad when I say it makes it sound like I'm saying good things about Carney. I'm just saying, no, we're in a hold your breath, Hail Mary kind of mode. Like, again, the U.S. economy is bad, ugly, disaster, and catastrophic, about to be catastrophic, where, and again, you listen to anybody on the left, on the right that's into the economics, like in the big numbers, they're saying the same thing I'm telling you, right? It's just people don't listen to that because it's kind of boring and whatever. But if you listen to those people, they're saying, well, no, we're in trouble. Like unanimously on both sides of the aisle, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. And it's not just the state. It's the everything crisis is everything. Everywhere, right? I constantly hear Americans go on about how much liberty and freedom they have in comparison to everybody else in the world. I'm like, you might want to kind of, you're just late to the party. You know, yes, you will be going to jail for hate speech and Holocaust denial laws, the same way they do in the UK and in Australia and up here in Canada. You're just late to the party. The same banksters that run Starmer, run Trump, run Carney, right? It's just these guys have a little bit of autonomy to fuck up their countries how they see fit, if that makes sense. Where Carney is actually probably one of the only world leaders right now, next to a handful of guys like I always call him Salvini. Salvini is in Italy. No, I'm talking the other guy, or not Italy. It's Meloni in Italy, but there's Salvini was also in Italy. But anyway, the guy in El Salvador, like taking the country, the highest crime rate, most dangerous country in the world, to becoming one of the safest countries in South America. Now, how he got there, how he did it, okay, you can critique that, but he did it, right? So I do believe that man. I mean, if you look at it, him and his wife, when they come out of their presidential palace, like they're such good-looking people. You know what I mean? He's handsome, she's beautiful. They're smart, they're intelligent, they know how to woo the people. And it's kind of like Will and Kate, but El Presidente. You know what I mean? And it's like it's aesthetics done right, but getting the people. I don't know if you're from El Salvador. I mean, some of the worst drug gangs come from El Salvador, like what's it called? Anyway, the one that Trump's always talking about there, anyway, doesn't matter. They're bad. They're badasses, right? So that guy, I'm sure he's on the take. I'm sure he's corrupt, but he's corrupt in a way that, okay, well, at least if my people aren't suffering, they're not going to overthrow me, and I'll be able to get away with my cartels and corruption, right? Carney's doing the same thing. It's just Carney's not likable and handsome like the guy in El Salvador, right? So he doesn't have the El Presidente swagger. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if Carney looked like Trudeau, right? He would be that much further ahead, right? Because then you'd have the women going, oh, he's so dreamy, but look at how great he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, it would be a win-win. So we could thank God that Carney's kind of funny looking, right? He's just a funny looking old man. He's like me. He's just a funny old geezer. Funny looking old geezer. So nobody cares about him, right? He's just an all business. He's as bureaucratic as basically. You're dealing with the freaking accountant. You know what I mean? You're dealing with an accountant. He's as boring as an accountant, right? So no offense to accountants out there. I'm not boring. I like numbers. But anyway, and again, it's not praise of Carney, because this man, again, he's got a big problem that the Canadian economy, it's bouncing along like a super ball. Trying to keep the GDP numbers up with foreign workers is going to be a bad idea, because the Americans have already ran out of runway on that, and every Western country is going to, where, okay, at some point, you're going to have way more people than jobs. We're still not quite there yet. That's why you can still get the foreign workers thing. But Carney's starting to cut back on the foreign workers, because I think he's not doing it because he cares about Canada. Like, Canada's population is now starting to shrink a bit. Not fat, like we're down by like something like 78,000 people or whatever. Hardly a drop in the bucket, but at least in the right direction. And he's going to cut the immigration in half, right? Or not quite in half, but like from 7.5% of our population down to 5%, which is still way fucking too much. We need to cut off and re-immigrate. You know what I mean? But that said, cutting down on the foreign workers, all he's really doing is buying time of that bouncing ball. So GDP numbers up, GDP numbers down. You know, immigrants come in, GDP numbers down. They get the temporary foreign workers permit, GDP numbers up. Right? That's what's happening with the Canadian economy. So he's just slowing that bounce down. Right? So you're going to see a GDP numbers on the positive side. They're just not going to be as high because he doesn't want to run out of runway too quick. That's all that's happening there. And the idea for Carney, again, can he divert trade and this guy is diverting trade. Okay, you have to understand, anything done right in politics or done by the book, it moves at the speed of smell, right? And most people on the left and right do not understand. It's like, if Donald Trump comes out and says this, that means it's happening. It's like, no, we're going to open a refinery. Okay, we're going to open this. We're going to build a factory. Yeah, but it takes years to do all that stuff, right? There is stuff you can do now, such as take down trade barriers. Okay, you can do that overnight. Okay, here's what overnight means. It means almost a year ago, 9 months ago, or 10 months ago, Carney got elected. We're now, and was talking about taking down trade barriers between the provinces, going from 13 independent economies to one big super economy, right? And yeah, so we're now starting to see the early stages of the trade barriers from province to province go down, and it'll take months before you see the positive effects of that, and more to come in June, and more, it'll take about 5 years to break down all the trade barriers properly, right? Because you have to understand, okay, well, if you're going to have construction workers and welders and electricians and all these technical tradespeople being able to cross border, they got to set a standard across the country, which I don't know why we didn't do that right from day one, right? Some problems. Well, we don't want to have as high a standard because it's more expensive. Well, if everybody's on the same standard, it'll make things a lot easier. Quebec and Ontario tend to have higher standards than other provinces. So be it. Right? And we always want to go to the highest standard. We always want to go to the highest standard. I know there's the capitalist never wants to go to high. They don't want standards. They don't want to pay people wages. They don't want standards. Communists don't want to pay anybody. They just want everybody to starve to death. So communism fails. Capitalism just takes a little longer to fail. You want as much free market capitalism in your society, but having no guardrails and checks and balances. That's why we're at. Free market capitalism does not work long term. Free trade does not work long term. Globalism does not work long term. You cannot compete with the third world. It's as simple as that. That's why we have these temporary foreign labor workers coming in, which are never temporary, but if we can't get at least those guys out of the country, then at least the youth can get jobs again and stuff like that. But I don't see Donald Trump doing that. No. We need all these people from India and stuff. How about you fucking invest in your own fucking people? You know what I mean? Oh, they're too stupid to ever be able to build their own things. Okay, the country was built on Americans. It's only in this past 30 to 40 years where, somebody, oh, we can't do anything without third worlders. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? I digress. So here's the dilemma, okay? And it's bad. But which is the least harmful of the bad? Okay. We keep just doing what we're doing. Okay. The cost of living for Americans just went up again. It's high for Canada. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And, it's as good as could be expected, right? So it's bad everywhere. So inflation is up a lot in the States overall on everything, and it's about to get hit again. Now, the thing is that we just leave it the way it is. It's just like nothing's going to get better. It's just going to kind of stay the way it is, and gradually just kind of deteriorate, because there's just no forward momentum, particularly in the economy, right? The second is, okay, the Kuzma thing came up, and this is the wild card that we have here is kicking the can down the road, which has been Carney's tactic so far, is that the longer we hold off negotiating Kuzma, the better it is, because what Trump wants, like if we accept these tariffs right now that Trump has, then that'll be factored into Kuzma, and that'll harm Canada, right? So Americans don't care about Canada, I get that, but on the other hand, we care about ourselves. So obviously, obviously if the shoe's on the other foot, you would do the same. Okay, we'll kick that can down the road, right? Because buying time is the strategy, and the longer that happens, the more Americans are going to suffer and bitch and get mad at Trump, which is working to our advantage as we speak, right? Even in red states. Like, it's amazing how many hardcore Republican, libertarians, pro-MAGA people have turned on Trump. It's like probably, if not 2/3 of his base, probably 3/4 of his base. Like, it's that much. Yes, there's the loyalists, the Zionists, ones that, okay, well, the ones that care more about Israel, MAGA people that care more about Israel, or what they're now calling them MIGA. Take out the A, put in the I. Make Israel great again. You know what I mean? So Trump's play here is keep doing what you're doing, okay? Make the American people even more mad. Flip the fucking apple cart. Basically, that's it. And this is what I believe he's going to do, because it would be the worst thing he could do. So obviously, Murphy's Law said he's going to do the worst thing, which is going to hurt everybody. Now, there'll be the MAGA cheerleaders out there saying, oh, we're sticking it to Canada. Guys, he just took a shotgun and blew a hole in both sides of the boat. We're all going to drown now. And that is completely throw out the USMCA, which, if he cancels this thing overnight, everything comes to a halt, okay? Meaning, overnight, he could probably destroy the Canadian economy. But within a week to 2 weeks, the United States economy will be in the biggest, greatest depression it's ever suffered. Why? The United States is a giant tumor grafted onto the Canadian economy, which is a smaller tumor, and they're intertwined. The second you get rid of USMCA, no one's going to know how to do trade. What do we do? Like, there's nothing replacing that. This is the thing. Trump will get rid of it, but not replace it. That means the trucks will be stopped at the border because they won't know what to do. Like, okay, well, what do we charge? Do we keep doing it? What's the I mean, most people don't even know what their tariff rate is at. They don't even know what to charge because Trump keeps changing it on a daily fucking basis, right? So, like, well, what do we charge? It's complete chaos, right? Chaos on his own side. So you do that, that will take the wild card of kicking the can down the road away from Canada. Kind of like how, like, trying to take the oil from Venezuela will take the wild card from Alberta, the oil from Alberta, right? So, like, the key thing is that Alberta, if it's, like, even before the pipelines, we got trains, you know what I mean? Get that oil to the fucking coast, get it to other people. The only other wild card Trump can play on the freighter, and the freighter wars are like, I forget, there's 3 or 4 freighters got nailed the other night. This guy's it's fucking, it's all over the place. The last thing anybody wants to be probably on is a fucking oil freighter. Like, who wants to work on an oil freighter? I think this one was in the Red Sea or the Caspian Sea. I can't remember, but anyway, I think they're a Kazakh, so that'd be probably the Caspian Sea, I guess. Yeah. That's Caspian Sea, yeah. Anyway, like, if Canada right now, we're diverting the oil that the Chinese were buying from America, okay, is now no longer being bought from America. So Americans lost jobs on that, right? Because of Trump's trade war. The Chinese said, well, if you want the trade war, we'll give you the trade war. And we'll take our business elsewhere. Where did they take that business? Guess where they took that business? I'll give you one guess, eh? Yeah, so basically we're now selling the oil to China instead of, China's buying the oil off of us. And it's a huge deal for us. And trust me, once we make that deal, like again, I don't want to become closer to China. And I've always said this: the liberals sell us out to China, the conservatives sell us out to the States, right? And the thing is it never works out good for us. Especially the last thing we want to do is prop up China, right? So will the United States Navy come and start stealing Chinese and Canadian freighters, or blow them out of the water, saying you're not allowed to do trade with China? You can't sell your oil to China. That's an act of war that will start the war between Canada and the United States. Again, Trump would do this. I wouldn't put it past him, right? The other thing is pulling the Kuzma card, break it all. If I can't have my way, I'll break everybody's toys so nobody else can play with them. That will hurt Americans in a catastrophic way overnight. We're talking, all that trade, okay. It's basically, okay, the United States buys 2% from us. We buy like 50%, well, minus whatever trade we've diverted. I think we've diverted about, at minimum, 24% trade. About a quarter of our trade is now going elsewhere, right? Which is just increased trade for us. We're displacing the American trade. We've lost about 15% trade from the United States to this point, right? But that trade's being made up somewhere else and some. So, I mean, to think about that in 1 year, that means within about 6 years, Canada could be 100%, 6 to 7 years, we could be 100% independent of the United States. Not a thing needs to cross the border, which doesn't need to be that way, but if that's the way the administration is going to play it, that's where it's going to lead to. No offense to the American people, but it's like, you reap what you sow. You vote for this guy. The next guy, he's not going to be able to get back the trade we're losing. And not only that, it won't matter even if the next president is the most pro-Canadian president trying to get the business back. That business isn't going back to the States ever again. Why? Because we've learned our lesson of why NAFTA didn't work. It's daily. It's daily now, right? It's like, okay, that was a bad policy from before, when it was argued that, but there'd be so many jobs out of it and so much this. Now we're fighting for our lives to not have the plug pulled on our economy overnight. You just take away 50% of our trade overnight. That destroys the Canadian economy. Now, the thing is when we rebound from that, though, there will never be a trade deal done with the United States ever again in our history. That's becoming, there's no new trade deals really, other than stuff that was already in the works going through right now. There's no new trade deals hardly at all going through the States, other than unless we necessarily have to. We're trying to find other partners first. So if you displace 30%, 25 to 30% trade per year in Canada, Trump's only option here is either ditch the tariffs, which would be the best thing for everybody, go back to what we had, actually come to the fucking table. Okay, well, we'll iron out behind closed doors. We'll iron out, not on Twitter, not on hey, I got to make it look like I'm sticking it to the libs, blah blah blah. No, stop pissing off the people on either side of the aisle. Just people have enough stress in their lives with all the bullshit these politicians have fucking inflicted on us over the years. It's time for them to fucking act like fucking grown-ups, right? Yeah, hell will freeze over before that happens. But the thing is that if he pulls that, and I think he's going to do that, but that brings Canadian-U.S. trade to a grinding halt overnight. Nothing will be allowed to go past the borders because we won't know what to do. Okay, well, what are the trade? What are the, what's the deal? Which Trump will see it as a major win. However, you're talking about probably 100,000 jobs lost per night for just overnight, just all those factory workers, everything comes to a grinding halt. Because like Trump looks at it as, well, I'm just going to divert what we don't sell to the Canadians, the American public is just going to buy. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, we're the icing on the cake. We're the extra, so every time Trump strays Canadian consumers, you're not making that up. Like, Trump is not making up the losses. He's just taking losses. You've lost 15% trade with us. That's job losses. That's not economic wins and bringing trade back to the United States. That's just job losses. So the United States has been suffering nothing but job losses. This is why the data is getting hard to get. Like, they're trying to fudge the data to make, so you don't realize just how bad it fucking is. I think anybody with half a brain kind of gets it. And hopefully you're preparing wisely. I don't care if you're the biggest Trump freak out there, still cheerleader. At least fucking prepare for the biggest economic collapse in human history. And it's going to go global, guys. Like, we're going to get hit, they're going to get hit. So the United States overnight will cut off 50% of our trade with them and 2% trade with us, right? So the United States would be like, and again, many Americans are like, well, it's only 2% trade, that's a rounding error. Well, in that 2% affects that's the Americans are not buying dinky items from us and maybe the odd goods and services, right? But what you're buying from us is critical. The potash, the gas, the oil, the electricity. What happens when, you get out of that and suddenly we don't know, if we're allowed to keep the electricity on or not? You know what I mean? That's going to hurt us. It's like, okay, well, under the Kuzma, like you destroy Kuzma, that's going to affect the electricity. You shut off it's January. You shut off the electricity. How many people die of exposure overnight just from that? And Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care. Like, none of our politicians care about. It's just like, if that happens, you're talking gas and oil, people's heating, the hydro, the hospitals. Like, after about a week, the hospitals are going to be out of diesel. How are you going to pump the diesel with no electricity? You know what I mean? Like, you need diesel generated. Like, it will be a fucking catastrophic nightmare. Just in the first 3 days alone, will probably kill 10,000, 15,000 people, vulnerable people that require life support, stuff like that. I mean, mind you, the way they'll look at it is an economic benefit, but this is the evil we're dealing with. So he goes that way, which is most likely what he's going to do. Just scrap it all together. It'll be complete chaos. We want to send you the hydro, but like, we can't because we don't know, what the rules are. So you could see a revolt. I do believe. And this would be a big step up for Doug Ford. He'd say, well, I'm going to send you the hydro. You can cut it off on your side if you want. We're not going to we're going to protect the Americans. We're not American people. We're not going to let Trump, destroy, kill, murder people. That would be the biggest, Doug Ford would go down in history. You know what I mean? And Doug Ford is playing that game. He knows how to fucking do the counter Trump signaling pretty good. You might not like Doug Ford. You might like him. Doug Ford is like a Dutch door. I get it. He swings back and forth. But the man is playing the game. He understands. He might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, okay? But he is really good at politics. He really is. I've been watching this man for years. He knows how to swing the Dutch door. He really does. He's a slimy politician. But he knows how to go to bat for Ontario. And that's why he keeps winning. Like, he knows when to flip-flop. Trump has no clue. Like, if you had Doug Ford as the president of the United States, holy fuck. Like, I mean, okay, maybe Pierre Poilievre would be a better choice to replace Trump. But I think Doug Ford, man, you want fucking business in the States, you get Doug Ford down there. Like, I mean, this guy, he's done a lot with Ontario. You know what I mean? He's done a lot with Ontario. Is he perfect? No. And you could, again, hit me with all the stuff that he's done wrong. I get it. Every politician is the same. But overall, if you judge Kathleen Wynne, David McGuinty, or Mike McGuinty, McGuinty guy. Anyway, the fucking Liberals, what they've done to Ontario over the decades. You know what I mean? Like, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. you know, yeah, so that's kind of the big thing there. Like, again, there's basically the three moves that Trump can make here. And the number one is get rid of Kuzma altogether to destroy Canada. And then, in a couple of years, again, I really don't think the Venezuelan oil thing is going to work out for the States the way Trump thinks it. It's not going to destroy Alberta. Alberta's going to divert. I do believe we are going to get those east-west pipelines just out of fucking survival. The only people standing in the way of it is an American-backed native coalition in BC that basically isn't really part of a band. Like they're a farce. They're like a George Soros group. They're with the Bill Gates Tides Foundation stuff, right? To go against our oil industry. This has been going on for years. It's not new. Standing in the way of progress, right? The rest of the native groups in BC, most of them, maybe not all of them, most of them are like, yeah, we want the jobs, we want the pipelines. It's just you got a fucking whack job NDP, what you call it, NDP communist in charge there. So he's got a, again, it's the survival of Canada. The second Alberta and BC can make that pipeline deal between themselves, Alberta oil flows to the world. It just gushes to the world. Trump will hate that. Trump will hate that big time. Yes, he would use the U.S. Navy to destroy our oil freighters. He would attack us. Right? Because every time we outplay him, it embarrasses him, right? He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. And by the time, it always takes him a long time to realize, but when he does, that's when he does these hyperbolic things. The other option is just keep doing the tariff thing the way it is, and people just gradually get more miserable, and you lose more U.S. jobs. Again, the Americans are not gaining. Canada's gaining big time. Like we're the man on the street in Canada, no, is not gaining yet. We're not seeing the fruits of the labors yet. I mean, we're still suffering under the 10 years of Trudeau and all that bad shit that he done. Mark Carney's not really undoing a lot of that, but he's undone quite a bit, and he has purged his cabinet of a lot of the radicals a few times. We're getting rid of the worst of the worst. The no-brainer for Carney right now is to ditch the gun grab thing, right? I know he's pandering to the base or whatever, but even at that, I think if you want your 300,000 conscripts, you've got 1.5 to 2 million legal gun owners that you can tap into right away. If they, these are the people that are, like, the gun owners are the people that are more likely to step up to becoming a conscript, right? But there has to be a caveat that the conscripts have to be domestic only, not for going to fight in the Ukraine or something stupid like that. That's the only way they're going to sell it. Because what they were thinking is, we'll get government workers because government workers are mostly left-wing. No, government workers, and I've said this before, government workers are lazy. Sorry, I get it. If you work in the government, I'm not taking a jab at you. But these people want to sit down all day. They don't want to be fucking stiff. Yes, you got the odd guy that goes to the gym. But look at the average government worker. The average government worker is quite plump and round. He's sitting at a desk all day. It's like they're not out there with chainsaws and whippersnippers and shit like I am doing. I sweat fucking 5 pounds a day doing that. You know what I mean? But mind you, I'm a lot better for it because sitting at a desk all day is just not good. It's not good for you mentally, not good for you spiritually, definitely not good for you health-wise, right? But anyway, I digress. So the other option is Trump ends the madness and the foolishness and tries to repair or, just at least hold on to the business that you have with us. Mind you, even, like I say, for the next 30 to 50 years, Canada is going to be diverting its trade so that we're never in this vulnerable position with any one country again. It won't matter which leader it is, if they're on the left or on the right. This is the path this is the only path Canadians will accept going forward in the future. No more free trade agreement. Like I say, everybody, all the people on the right here in Canada, elbows up is so cringe and it's so stupid. What happened to elbows up? It's like, okay, first off, we're at war with the Americans. It's a soft war, but we're at war. We're at an economic war, currency war, trade war, shooting war, right? Trump is also getting desperate. He's got the U.S. Navy as pirates. Again, everybody gets mad at me for, Reg, why are you so hard on? There's good soldiers out there. There's good cops out there. So, no, there's not. No, there's not. Prove me wrong. Look, how many times we got to get betrayed by the fucking establishments before people get it? No. 2020, every cop in Canada, bad. Every cop in the UK, bad. Every cop, all these just following order guys arresting people for not wearing fucking masks and stuff. Yeah, go fuck yourselves. You are not good. You are not patriots. You are not even for your own country, not even for your own families. And again, it's very clear this far down the line that it was a nothing burger, it was a psychological warfare thing that they used for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They signed the Trans-Pacific Partnership. 2 years later, you get the pandemic. Then what happens? I'm not saying nobody died of the C-19. What I'm saying is it wasn't anywhere near what they said it was. There were doctors and nurses that blew the whistle on it. They got fired. They went to jail, all that, with the brave law enforcement and stuff like that standing up to it. You've got, where was the military to save us? Where was the law enforcement? These people will not do that. They are part of the system. They are the bad guy. If you work for law enforcement, military, the FBI, the CIA, CSIS, RCMP, you hate your own people. That the establishment hates the people. You have to just follow orders to hurt your people. You see it in the UK, you see it everywhere. So until I see the law enforcement military actually go after the globalists, arrest them, which they can round all these people up, give them their fair day in court for crimes against humanity, execute them for crimes against humanity. They could probably end all this global madness in wars, everything, within 6 to 8 months. But no, because they're cowards, law enforcement, military, yeah, they're brave in the Call of Duty or whatever. Okay, they're brave in that. They're good at, okay, they go arrest the like the street thug, but go after the politicians, go after the government, go after the people, that did the pandemic, so that when they put everybody's big businesses, warehouses, meat packing plants, you name it all, they all went out of business, and suddenly, bang, Wallace, you couldn't, you had travel restrictions for all your citizenry. However, we're flooding in all these immigrants while there's apparently the worst freaking pandemic in human history, but we're going to just allow millions of people come into our borders unchecked so that they can go work at these meatpacking plants and Amazon and the list goes on, and all the fast food restaurants. Geez, it's almost like they planned it all out. But I'm sure that's just a conspiracy. Anyway, I digress. I mean, guys, I pick up on patterns. I really do. I'm not right all the time, but 85% of the time I'm right. Again, this is why people get mad at me when they listen to me for the first time, because I don't just do the partisan thing, right? I will attack like a pit bull on a pork chop to the evildoers. I do it all the time, whether they're on the left, whether they're on the right. And guys, I'm on the right. And I'm telling you, Trump is not a right winger. He is not America first. He's everything. He's nuts. He's a crazy evangelical Zionist. That's what he is. He might not go to church every week or whatever, but when his people say the quiet part out loud on his behalf, you understand the agenda, right? You want to know how Trump really thinks? You can listen back when Mike Pompeo was in his cabinet in Trump 1.0. He would say the quiet part out loud. Trump is a Zionist evangelical doomer, right? The man is suicidal for us. He's going to get everybody killed. Now, the other option, like I say, is to just follow the route. But there's another problem coming, and it's fucking huge. It might appear to be a win at the beginning, but when you realize the double cross, backstab, and this is what Boy Scout survivalist or survivalist Boy Scout, what he was saying. He's like, look, everybody's cheering these, the Supreme Courts for if they're going to like shoot down the Trump tariffs, right? Long term, this will be a good thing for both Americans, Canadians, and anybody else doing trade with the United States. These are legal tariffs. They are. The trade disputes are not in writing that this is our, like, it's not following the rule of law. It's just Trump on a whim. I'm going to attack 170 countries or something like that with tariffs because that'll make America great. What Trump was doing was finding a way to raise taxes, which they got like 190 billion out of it or something like that. But which is hardly worth mentioning because again, what did that raid in Venezuela cost you? What did bombing Iran cost you? What does all this aid to Israel and Ukraine cost? Right? You've already blown through it. You know what I mean? And not to mention it's not going to balance the budget because you're spending $1 trillion every 3 months. You're adding $1 trillion to the deficit every 3 months. Like, guys, like if you just that alone should put the fear of God in you. It does me. I'm just like, like stock up, like whatever's on it. I don't care how broke you are. Look, I'm a poor person too. Whatever is on the shelf, no matter how expensive it is right now, it's on sale. And you can get it. The unobtainium crisis is coming, meaning it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor, you will not be able to buy it because it just simply won't exist. It's not going to be there. Here's the monkey wrench in this chaos, in this shit sandwich that we're having. And it's this. If they shoot down Trump's tariff war, right, he could still destroy CUSMA and destroy trade between Canada, the United States, and Mexico overnight, right? Which, yes, will be more catastrophic to Canada and Mexico short term, but you're going to lose 20 to 40% of the U.S. economy within 6 months. That is a Great Depression that will kill millions of Americans. Millions. You don't have to like Canada. You don't have to like the United States. It'll kill us too. Just of the depravity, the deaths of despair, just everybody losing their jobs and starting to starve to death, the breakdown of supply chains, the unobtainium crisis. We already got a glimpse of this in 2020 when, for example, Ford F-150s, thousands of them, brand spanking new, sitting there waiting for a 20-cent part. Thousands of them. This is and it's what I explained before. It's the thingamajiggy, the whatchamacallit, the dingle-doo-hopper, or what the market calls widgets and trinkets that knocks out your economy. The Germans were building in World War II at the end, they were building jets superior to anything the Americans had, or the British had, or we had. We mainly had British stuff. The ME-262, the 162 Salamander. These things were superior. The Ardo 204, the Horton 229. These things were superior to anything the Americans could have. These jets were superior. And most of them are stuck on the ground because the Germans couldn't get the trinket. What was the trinket? Bearings. That's it. That's what's going to happen to the U.S. economy when Trump pulls the CUSMA thing. It will destroy businesses that are critical in building infrastructure, critical in maintaining things, supply chain. Right? This will be an unforgivable thing seen globally. And other countries too will suffer greatly. Even though it's just because of everything coming to a screeching halt. Again, it's absolute terror, right? And it's something that I said he was going to attack Venezuela and steal the oil. He attacked Venezuela and steal, but who couldn't see that coming, right? But it's not going. I also told you it's a ploy to take away the wild card that Alberta has with the oil and the wild card that Saskatchewan has with the potash. If you just steal it from the Venezuelans, no problem. Problem is it's not ready to go. It'll take years to get that to be able to replace Alberta oil, which gives Alberta years to find new markets, right? This is the worst thing for Trump. He's already played that card. Alberta's already responding. They're already looking for new buyers. Daniel Smith said it a couple of months ago. If the Americans don't want our resources, well, then we'll just find other people who do. Well, what the response was supposed to be was, and that was the correct response. What the response was supposed to be, oh my God, no, we'll do whatever you want. We'll become the 51st state. You know what I mean? Again, that 51st state propaganda is going to die hard in Canada, especially if he pulls the Kuzma thing. Like the way Trump thinks is that, and again, there are people like this, that everything he does, Carney's going to take the blame for. It's like, well, because Carney can't make a deal, and there's still conservatives out there making this argument. I'm like, do you not understand what's going on? Like, I get it. You're partisan against the liberals. I get that. I get that. But guys, we're in survival mode right now. We are in a very dangerous. Like, we're about to have our economy completely destroyed. Almost half of our trade gone overnight. This will, like, the layoffs will be, we're talking a few million out of work overnight. And maybe half the country's employment done overnight. This is catastrophic. This will be the most evil thing ever done to another country. Well, maybe not the most evil thing, but one of the most evil things. And the biggest backstab of your number one ally. At that point, it's gear up for war. You know what I mean? Like, we're already gearing up for a war with the Americans. It's just, a lot of people don't see the like, it's incremental and it's very subtle right now, but we're already in the talks of what do we do when the Americans invade. This is what our Canadian generals are talking about now. This is what they're talking about openly, let alone behind closed doors. It's still kind of in the early phase, okay? Because we know we're going to probably be shooting at the Americans over at least Greenland, and probably, like I say, the Americans are probably going to invade either at the Great Lakes first or around because Trump wants to seize that territory, or the Northwest Passage, which is more likely the Northwest Passage. But you never know. It's Trump, right? But he could also attack our oil freighters going to China, whether they're seized or blown out of the water by the U.S. pirate Navy. And of course, yes, the Navy, they'll just do it. Like, they're already killing people in the water, like shooting these boats, right? But they're drug boats. Well, yeah, but what drugs were on there? Who are the people you killed? Where were they going? I don't know. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, what happened to due process? You are now a fucking pirate Navy. You are a pirate. You are not a brave standing up for my Constitution. There's not a single fucking soldier I've ever seen stand up for their Constitution in any country. It's like, as soon as they're ordered to do fucking atrocities, they do it. It's like, yeah, well, we'll serve and protect, and I will refuse all unlawful orders. Piracy is an unlawful order, illegal wars. I mean, and again, there's one guy, one out of the entire U.S. Armed Forces and Navy, you got one guy that comes out and says, I'm not going to attack boats off the coast of Venezuela without a declaration of war. Which is even if it was a legal war, at least it would be a declaration, right? You're not fighting drug traffickers. It's not about that. It was about stealing the oil all along. Again, no different than George Bush or anything like that, or Obama or Biden. But at least they came up with a bullshit excuse, weapons of mass destruction or whatever, you know what I mean? So we'll see how that plays out. Globally, everybody's watching, and globally, countries are reacting. So the other option is, okay, when they take down the tariffs through the legal system, okay, the judges, okay. So right now you've got, again, the thing is people are cheerleading for like really bad people, like what's the guy there, the Federal Reserve guy that they got there right now. This guy's pure fucking evil, right? And Trump's going after him. So the MAGA people are like, he's draining the swamp. He's draining the swamp. There's no swamp being drained. It's mob bosses fighting. This guy, Powell, not doing what Trump wants, whatever, okay? They'll just replace him with somebody else who will do the job, right? And the job he wants to do is going to hurt Americans, right? Trump, he's not a dictator yet, right? But he's very he's a lot like Stalin-esque, as I say, where he surrounds himself with people that just tell him yes all the time, or else he fires them. Stalin just had them shot. You know what I mean? So he's not a tyrant. He's a bully, but not a tyrant. Trust me, when Trump goes tyrannical, that's when a lot of people are going to die in the country. There's no doubt about that. And it's coming to a head. It's coming to a head. But the thing is that when they shoot down, and this is what the Boy Scout Survival was talking about, that when they shoot down the tariffs, okay, because they're illegal. They are illegal. Like it's an illegal tariff war. He didn't follow Trump doesn't follow, like he doesn't do policy. He didn't do the policy to make it legal, right? And they shoot that down. Everybody will cheer, yeah, the tariffs are gone, the tariffs are gone. No. Your taxes are about to skyrocket. Why? Because they're going to pay back all that tariff money. That's $190 billion. That's a lot of money, okay? And they're going to give it back to the corporations that lost money on these tariffs, right? They're not going to give it back to the people that had to pay all that extra inflation, an extra tax, so to speak. And that's all a tariff is just it's a self-inflicting tax. And the thing about that is now the people who are struggling the most now have to pay even more back to the corporations who fucked them over in the first place. Like, it's just so bad. But that is the system working the way it's supposed to. It's, again, we need to steal all the wealth from the people beyond belief. Well, they're very successful at it. And while you're at that, we'll start another war to distract you, right? With Iran or something like that, or, attack of Venezuela again if the Maduro regime, keeps, doing its thing. Now, that said, okay, those that are not understanding how serious things are. The Netherlands, okay, now I've been looking into their military and stuff like that. Yes, they have F-35s or whatever. Yes, the Americans can shut those off in flight. So, okay, we'll say Greenland won't have the air power dominance. Because you have to understand, if the Danish military and Air Force defend Greenland with F-35s, it's a dilemma for the Americans. And I'll tell you why. Because everybody around the world that has bought F-35s, the UK, well, the UK and Israel will be the exceptions, because the UK and Israel were smart enough to say, okay, we'll buy the F-35s from you, but we're putting BAE systems here, and I think Leonardo systems or whatever in the Israeli ones, or whatever there. I think they were using the Italian Leonardo stuff. Whatever. Okay, so the Americans have no control over those aircraft at all. But everybody else, yes, they do. Right? Because they're using the Echelon Raytheon stuff, right? And the thing is about that is, if Danish pilots come up against American pilots over the sovereignty of Greenland, okay, and they're flying around, and they shoot down an American F-35, okay, or an F-35 shoots down them, it's just a war. But if the American pilots are moving in, the Danish pilots are just on takeoff, coming up to intercept the American pilots, and suddenly the fucking things just fall out of the sky because Raytheon flicked the off switch. Suddenly, everybody in the world, there's never an American weapon going to be sold to anybody else in the world. It's like, no, we can't trust these fuckers. Donald Trump has done this is already doing this to the weapons industry. The only thing keeping the U.S. weapons industry going right now is basically the Ukraine war and Israel. Because everybody else is like looking at it saying, we don't even know if we can get parts from these guys anymore. Like, we can't trust the United States at all. So all that American equipment in the next decade is going to be replaced by Saab, by Dassault, by BAE, you name it, Leonardo, CANSEC, whatever. And America's going to lose a lot of business to that, right? Or not to mention the Chinese and Russian stuff out there. So I think Saab is about to become the most powerful weapons, or the South Korean stuff, particularly. I think Saab and South Korea are about to become the two big weapons exporter powerhouses in the world. Why? Because Sweden, with all the problems of Sweden, they're still seen as a very likable and very honorable country. South Korea these people can't kill you with fucking kindness fast enough to sell you shit. These people could sell oil to a snake oil salesman. They want your business. They will work hard for it, and a deal will be a deal. You know what I mean? The South Koreans are like one of the fourth largest weapons distributors around the Western world. Like they're busy, but they know how to they don't bite the hand that feeds. Trump is just constantly biting the hand that feeds with his believing that he's got American exceptionalism on his side. It's just the only thing that saves the U.S. economy, and I'll say it and say it and say it until I'm blue in the face, is the fact that it's just the largest one. But it is falling from grace at a murderous pace. Again, Americans, they're feeling it. You know what I mean? They're feeling it, and it's everybody's feeling it around the world. But when the beacon on the hill starts to go out, darkness falls over everybody else. So everybody else is trying to scuffle and say, okay, how do we live in a world with a collapsing the United States? How do we outrun the collapse of the United States economy in a globalistic world that's so fucking chained to the U.S. economy, right? Like everybody's economy in the world, pretty much, even including China. In fact, China takes the biggest hit if the United States collapses. You know what I mean? Because that's the number one customer. Trump went about this the worst way possible. He could have worked in partnership with Canada, saying, look, we're going to be building up our own manufacturing. You guys might want to do the same. Let's do partnerships so that we could streamline your auto industry to be 100% self-reliant and ours to be 100% self-reliant. That's all he had to do. It would have, by now, all the jobs that we've seen lost, we probably would have increased on both sides of the border by probably about 10%. Trump doesn't see it that way. No, you have to fail again, he's a bully, right? You have to fail so I can win. When mutual benefit, like you wouldn't even have to do that. But anyway, the Danes have now changed their doctrine militarily. That any invader, okay, the Danish military, okay, and this is so fucking dangerous. And I know what the American response is going to be to this. No one will ever challenge us ever anywhere in the world because we'll crush them, blah, blah, blah. It's not how it works. The Danish military, which if you look at the stuff they don't have as much, but they have a lot better stuff in the Arctic. The idea is hit and run tactic, and then wait till you freeze to death. That's how you do it. You destroy the generators, you destroy the gas and oil, you cut them off, right? So Trump, most likely what he's going to do is send, he's already talking about it, thousands of troops to Greenland, right? Kind of as a show of force, saying, well, we're going to take this. These guys are here. As soon as I order them, they're going to just, kill 50,000 Greenlanders if we want to. There's nothing you can do about it. Which, no, there's lots they can do about it. You're dealing with the people that can function in the Arctic. And Arctic winters. The Americans, they won't be able to, go to that survivalist mode in the Arctic the way the Greenlanders can. Inuit people live with no electricity up there. Some of them, they know how to do it. They've been doing it for thousands of years. They know how to do that. You know what I mean? They've taught our militaries how to do it. How to build igloos properly and all that. Yes, the Americans that are there, they train on that stuff too. But the thing is they're not going to be able to keep the support. The big war machine doesn't work in the Arctic the way you think it does. The Russian stuff works fairly well because it's low tech, works no matter what. It can work in minus 50, minus 70, whatever. It's crazy. Like an F-30, what's more likely to fly through a snowstorm? An F-35 or a Su-25 Frogfoot? You know what I mean? I put my money on the Frogfoot, it really is. Canada might have to bring back the old CF-100s. I don't care. We got a 2,000 mile range internally and something that can fly, in all weather. Just as good or better than probably what the F-35 can, even with all the upgrades. Yes, there are a handful of F-35s that can function in the Arctic, but not very many. But all of the Danish stuff functions in the Arctic. Their tanks function in the Arctic. The Americans have a handful of tanks that function in the Arctic. That's it. Is what it is. Rifles, keeping your rifles going in the Arctic. Talk to people like just keeping a semi-automatic rifle going in the Arctic is, again, if you've ever shot in like minus 30, like an SKS will work in the Arctic. But you get these direct impingement rifles, they ice up like fucking crazy. The old FMs, they used to put graphite on the. You can't use oil to clean your rifle in the Arctic. You do, it's just going to gum up on you, right? You have to use graphite. Shit like that. But the Danish military is now on order to fire first before at any enemy, including Americans. This is what's going on now. They don't have to wait for orders. They don't have. They can just respond on the spot. Now, I'm pretty sure the Danish military is professional enough to show restraint. But if they see Trump sends in like 14,000 guys, then 20,000 guys, whatever, you better believe the Danish military is probably already setting up the mortar stations to stop, like any sort of it's like you can't really use air power against the Greenlanders because, okay, yeah, you bomb civilians, that's it. You know what I mean? And if you take out the Danish bases, well, you're going to be probably bombing your own bases. Like this side of the base the Netherlands, Danes, whatever. This side's the, the American side. You know what I mean? But that said, the Greenlandic people are going to, they'll house their they'll definitely house the soldiers, right? They won't freeze to death. The Americans will freeze to death. And what do you do if the Americans do something really stupid and they wait for the right weather pattern, and then they, suddenly it's like minus 50, winds blowing 25 miles, it's snowing, and like that, and they just start opening up on the bases with shoulder-fired rockets, stuff like, you won't be able to use drones at that time. You know what I mean? Very well. They got air defense. They've got anti-shipping. You know what I mean? Like they've got mobile shipping like Harpoon missile launchers for coastal defense. They are ready to fight a war. It's just they might not be able to fight a long war, but they could probably sink a carrier group. You know what I mean? Like it's something that does not need to happen. The Americans are going to lose Greenland. They're not going to get it. China is doing business with the Greenlanders. Canada is doing business with the Greenlanders. I think we're going to benefit the most. I can even see the Greenlanders having a referendum and then saying, hey, we want to be a part of Canada. The same way Iceland wanted to use our currency and was probably even thinking about becoming a... And again, this was from the Icelandic people. They were discussing it a good while ago, like probably back in the 50s, saying, well, we could become a part of Canada, like it's, if you want. You know what I mean? Like it was of no... They didn't see it as a like they were toying the idea for themselves. Why? Because of our reputation. Like if Greenland and Iceland became a part of Canada, you know what I mean? Like it would be like just like welcoming in some cousins. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, whatever. Like it would make no difference to their sovereignty whatsoever. But Trump has just felt like the threat thing to Greenland was just so stupid. Like, what kind of 4D chess plan is that other than a retarded one? That's not a 4D chess plan. It didn't work. The propaganda of Greenlanders want to become a part of Denmark or become a part of the United States did not work. It didn't work. And rather than say, okay, well, I tried it, didn't work. Okay, I'm sorry. He's just going to do that stupid you know, because you have to understand, Trump is a fucking butthurt faggot. That's what he is. His fragile ego, like the man is so fucking fragile. It's just ah the worst. Like I it's going to get worse. I know it's going to get worse, but how? Do I really want to know? But anyway, that's where we're at. So Danish soldiers are getting ready to shoot at American soldiers, right? And it will come to a head because of a miscalculation. It's only a matter of time before you have protesters in Greenland protesting the military bases, and when they do, what an American soldier is going to shoot a Greenland, an Icelandic or a Greenland citizen? Well, all hell's going to break loose then. Like how are you going to justify that in the world? The French, okay, everybody's like, like France is the country to really watch here because, like, okay, yes, the Netherlands will be there, but they'll be backed up by Canada. They'll be back. Like the Americans will not be able to take Greenland if the Nordic coalition forces plus Germany and France and I don't know what the UK is going to do, but if they do jump in on it, you now have two nuclear powers fighting against you. The United States, they're like no one will ever challenge our supremacy. Uh, Once you understand like how battles are fought and pitch battles and stuff like that, that's part one of it, right? The rest is like if any country is most likely to survive against the U.S., it is probably Greenland because they're so isolated. It's in the Arctic that the Arctic itself is the main deterrent. It's the main deterrent that keeps the Russians out of Canada. Why? Because about half of our land is in the Arctic, and it's inhospitable land. Like you can barely get through it with a snowmobile or a snow coach. On the best of times, right? And in the summertime, like wheeled vehicles, tracked vehicles just get torn apart. So easily. Like it's really a natural barrier, right? And that's for all militaries. That's for all militaries. So if you got coalition forces defending Greenland, and then maybe the French say, okay, well, we'll help the Canadians out. Here's some exocet, here's some air launched nukes. If the Americans invade, nuke them. It could happen. You never say never. I don't want to see it go that way, but this is what Trump is pushing for. He thinks he's going to get the negotiation through bullying and destroying people's economies. But all he's going to get is like extreme backlash and isolation. Now, a lot of Americans are kind of, okay, well, this is fine. This is what we want. We want America first. Yes, but completely isolated, you'll be the second hermit kingdom. You know what I mean? And the thing is the rest of the world is going to do trade with each other while the Americans are just going to be cut off of trade. And it will, with the size of the American population, right? You have to consider with illegals, without illegals, doesn't matter at this point. Is to be self-sustaining is the Americans do not have enough industry or resources to sustain 300 million plus people. This is why the Americans buy from us in the first place. And this seems to be the argument that is so lost on so many pro-Trump Americans that it's like, yeah, but you're buying what you guys can't. You're buying from elsewhere what you can't produce yourselves. You can't. So the America First thing is going to be a very humbling experience because, first off, you've got to be able to, sustain yourselves. In the most critical stuff, you probably can to a degree, but you're talking like for example, 70% of your fuel is from domestic. The rest comes from elsewhere, and most of that comes from up here in Canada. The stuff from Venezuela, the oil from Venezuela, that's years from being online. If the Venezuelans don't start pull the Saddam on you and start attacking the oil fields, because once they do that, like again, I mean, Trump doesn't even have companies that are ready to go in. They're not saying it's the same thing when you get up here in Canada with the anti-pipeline arguments. It's like, yes, there is problems with the Liberals blocking pipelines, but under Carney, it's a little bit of a different story. he's not pro pipeline, but he's not against pipelines either as much. The big issue with the pipelines is the people who build them. Their assessments are, well, if we're not going to make money off this pipeline, we're not going to build it. You know what I mean? So either the taxpayer funds it, or you, which I think at this point, Line 5 and Line 9 and the East-West pipelines should be built on the taxpayers' dollar, not the Keystone pipeline down to Texas. We need to save that money, put it towards extra refineries here in Canada to be 100% able to refine our own oil and gas. Oh, but that'll cost us money. Yes, it's going to cost us a bit more, but what's your sovereignty worth, right? I'd rather pay an extra 10 cents a liter at the pump knowing that our oil supply is completely secure. You know what I mean? And not at the whim of a fucking maniac in the White House who could shut off our oil refinery in Texas and basically stop all the oil into Canada, which if he gets rid of Kuzma, that could happen, which we're talking massive fuel shortages in the middle of a Canadian winter. That will kill our Canadian people. That is an act of war. That's unforgivable at that point. So yeah, I do see a lot of bad things coming in the near future. It's going to be basically Trump's fault and his administration. I'm just praying that, maybe at some point the law enforcement military actually gets a fucking conscience in their brain and understands, you got to go after the corrupt people above your pay grade. You got to do it. If you don't do it, like I do believe there is going to be a military coup in the States. It's going to be a small one, but there will be a military coup in the States at probably by year's end. Because most soldiers are just going to be douchebags and just follow orders. They did it during the COVID thing. The cops did it during the COVID thing. They're going to do it whenever the order's given to open fire on the citizenry or just go to another fake war for Israel. They just do it, right? They just do it. They're cowards. And prove me wrong. Am I wrong? Like if you're going to go start another fucking war with Iran, oh, but there's dictators there. Neocon, right? Maduro was a dictator. Well, look, if there's any dictator in the world that should be taken out, it's Netanyahu. You know what I mean? I'm not calling for it, but I'm saying if you're really going to hold people to that dictator status, Maduro doesn't hold a candle to the genocidal maniac of Netanyahu. You know what I mean? Like it's let's be consistent here. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's the stuff coming at us. It's not looking good. The Canadian economy, again, we're getting, with China, threatening to triple our trade versus Trump threatening to make us the 51st state, whether we like it or not, and going to destroy our economy, make it in pain and suffering. It looks like, again, I'm not liking this because this sets us up for the same problem 20 to 50 years down the road where we'll be going to war with China, like physical war with China, probably over them trying to annex, say, BC or something. Like you can see the framework of it now. The stuff that John Turner was arguing with Brian Mulroney with back then is how I kind of see it now, right? I'm not a big fan of John Turner, but he was correct in that stance that NAFTA would come back to bite us in the ass big time. Where, being that beholden to somebody else's whims of flicking on or on off our economy on a whim, like Trump can do. It's just Trump can't do it without severely destroying the American economy. That 2% counts for a lot. Plus, you have to factor in all the other countries around the world that are already in boycott mode with the fuck Trump economy that's already going on. Okay? And again, I know Trump was supposed to be the good guy. I don't know what happened to him. I guess they got the Epstein thing on him. I mean, just the Epstein thing. Like a modern Boy Scout or survival or whatever. He showed like the way he showed it, he was like, here's all the things that MAGA voted for. Didn't do. Here's what Pam Bondi was supposed to do. Didn't do it. The Dan Bonginos and the Pam Bondis and, Dan Bonginos. What keeps you up at night? The safety of Israel. like for fuck's sakes, you know what I mean? Will it ever end, right? So just prepare wisely, guys, because there's not much more we can do about it other than sit back and laugh at the chaos of it all. But make no mistake, it will be chaos. And yes, Trump is about to create an international incident. Look, if they want to get out of NATO, right? Again, most Americans want to be out of NATO. Fine. It doesn't mean the rest of the alliance has to break up, but I think that it needs to be shuffled around. I think the European, like a European NATO that they talked about, I think that time has come. European Defense Pact, and then a Nordic alliance, whatever. And if the Americans want to be a part of NORAD, okay, fine. If they don't, they can go to themselves. I think NORAD makes sense because it protects both Canada and the United States. We could add Greenland into NORAD a bit more. If you kill them with kindness and just say, again, all this stuff could have been achieved through niceties. You know what I mean? Hey, how about this? Instead of doing more trade deals with China, we'll give you an even better deal. But no, capitalism, we've got to screw everybody over and steal their resources, right? Because, we got to be more competitive. Yeah. Never pay anybody a living wage because of capitalism. Because that would be socialism if you paid people living wages. Yeah. Look where it's gotten us. Guys, we're never going to be able to. Capitalism will fail every time. It just takes a little longer. Once you realize you can't compete with the third world, then you have to go nationalist. Where it's like, okay, well, we're going to up the wages a bit, but we have to, balance the trade so that other people don't just undercut our economies with cheaper stuff. This is why we have trade balances or trade disputes between Canada and the United States. Yes, the lumber industry has taken a big hit here. Yes, it will divert in a couple of years through mass investment, which the government, help the lumber yards out, get them building metric 2x4s and stuff like that. For foreign markets. We're already doing it for Japan. We just need to increase the scale. That's all. If the Americans don't want our stuff, let's find other people who do. This is what Donald Trump never considered. He was like, well, no, that 50% of their economy is hooked to ours. They'll never be able to find anybody to replace us. And it's like, okay, well, so far 25 to 30% of trade with the United States has already been replaced within a year. Again, by this time next year, depending on how Carney does, we could have half the trade completely. And you have to understand, probably 85% of the trade that we do with the United States can be bought from elsewhere or made here. I would rather it made here. The short term is we have to go where the factories are already running. But over the next 10 to 20, 30 years, we need to build those factories here so that we are never in this position again. We must become 100% self-sustaining. And we could do global trade, again, but like I say, the housing industry scammed Canadians. Our politicians scammed Canadians with the housing, using that as a driver of the economy. Housing should never be the driver of your economy. It should never. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Exports and imports should never be the driver of your economy. Bad idea. That should be icing on the cake. Not the number one driver of your economy should be small businesses and home manufacturing, domestic manufacturing. You do that, then all the other stuff is the best it could do is put you into a recession, not a complete crippling hyper depression that kills millions. You know what I mean? And this is what the disaster we're flirting with, and it's going to come to a head after the court decision of these tariffs. Because Donald Trump is not going to react very well to not getting his way. So he'll probably destroy Kuzma, then overnight, no, we're not going to know how to do trade because it's like, well, we can't put our trucks across your border or your trucks across our border because we could be in violation of some law and we don't even know what the law is yet. You know what I mean? So the man's a fucking maniac at this point, which is going to lead to somebody assassinating him. I'm not calling for it, but I'm like, guys, how can you not see it coming at this point? And it's most likely going to be people that voted for him, most likely a military veterans. It'll probably be a part of the military coup that's probably going to take place in the States anyway. The downside is the left takes over after, and they are going to crush us on the right, like big time. It's unbelievable what's about to happen to us. No one's going to win on this. No one's going to win on this. You're not going to get libertarians. You're not going to get. You're never going to get America first. That doesn't come without a lot of bloodshed. And even at that, there's no revolutions. Like I'm not calling for them. I'm just saying when they happen, they're unpredictable. You know what I mean? Look, Fidel Castro was a revolutionary liberating this country. How did that work out, right? Will America attack Cuba? Probably. I do believe the Cubans will probably have, they'll probably nuke Mar-a-Lago or at least missile the shit out of it. I believe the Cubans probably have stuff, probably remnants of Cold War era missiles and stuff like that, sitting in, sitting in the jungle there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. The Navy escorts of oil tankers and freighters, that's going to be happening pretty soon. And you are going to see, opposing warships opposing the U.S. pirate Navy at some point within the year. This will kill a lot of American sailors. Good riddance to them, you're pirates anyway, but they're also going to kill a lot of other people's stuff, making more of a backlash around the world to America. And obviously, every freighter within the next couple of weeks, pretty much every freighter is going to have some sort of armament on it to do business, right? Like Trump has escalated the game with the freighter war. Like you can only steal so much from people before there's a backlash. The idea that the U.S. Navy is unbeatable and unsinkable, their torpedoes say no. The torpedoes that they have, Denmark has, like the Danes and the Kingdom of Denmark and Norway and stuff like that. They have torpedoes. One of those torpedoes will sink a U.S. destroyer with a single hit. It's that powerful. Combined with the coastal defense. So again, they don't have lots of it. They have air defense, they have coastal defense. Even if you're able to eliminate that, I doubt you're able to eliminate that without, taking massive losses, especially in the warships. Warships are sitting ducks. They're sitting ducks. But even if you could, then you're dealing with assassinations and sabotage, like asymmetrical warfare. Again, you're already going to see it once they attack Iran. You're going to see a whole bunch of like terrorist attacks, and most likely you're going to see sabotage. You're going to see a lot of trains going off the rails. You're going to see public trains going off the rails, not just industrial stuff, but like they're going to start doing stuff like that. You're going to see water treatment plants attacked. You're going to see gas pipelines blown up, like city blocks, stuff like that. That's the type of terrorism that the United States is inviting in once they attack Iran. But they could also get that same thing from Greenland. Look, the left is already doing terrorist attacks, attacking the ice guys. The ice guys are, getting rougher. Of course, this is what they want, right? Again, I think the long con here has always been, again, every one of our politicians have sold us out to somebody, right? And I've been saying since 2010, if they can get the United States to break up into like 50 different little countries, the Chinese can buy them off over the next 100 years or so without firing a shot. Maybe that's the plan at play. That said, obviously the Israeli lobby is a huge problem. The South American lobby is a huge problem. Whether you're dealing with Netanyahu or Marco Rubio, none of them are American first. You know what I mean? This is why you can't have foreigners in your government. This is why you can't have dual citizens in your government. Period. 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 Anyway, that's all the bitching and whining I'm going to do for now. But that's where we're at, guys, and it's pretty terrifying. So keep stocking up on food. Dark times ahead. Trump's a retard. He's a retarded faggot. He's going to do retarded faggot stuff to us. I don't know who would be on his side now. Like, I mean, he's definitely not America first. Some wins, okay, yeah. So he's done okay with the border. You know, he was elected to do that, and he's done okay with the border, but not enough. Not enough. Definitely not enough. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. So I got to get other stuff done, and yeah, there we go.